There are people that are like, I just had my coffee and I can go straight to bed. And you're like, who is that? Like, I've always been like, who the hell is that person?
Uh, yeah.
What is paraxanthine?
So it's a metabolite, meaning like when you endogenous means inside the body. So like when you take caffeine exogenously as a supplement, meaning like whether it's caffeine anhydrous, the supplement, whether it's caffeine that occurs naturally in the cola nuts, in guarana, in coffee, tea, etc. When you consume that caffeine, it becomes three different molecules. It can become paraxanthine, theophylline, and theobromine in the body. And what we found is one, caffeine is actually in plants to be a toxin to repel bugs,
Oh,
repel
really? Is that why you
insects.
can
Yeah.
use like tobacco juice as a
Yeah.
pesticide or
Yeah.
whatever? No, that's nicotine.
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
can you?
Nicotine is very similar
Oh, okay.
as a stimulant. Yeah. So um, that's one thing. Two, we found that caffeine, there's the CYP1A2 gene. This is the caffeine metabolizer gene. And the difference in the way we metabolize caffeine, as I was alluding to earlier, is massive. 1.5 hours to 10.5 hour half life.
Really?
This means that, there are people that are like, I just had my coffee and I can go straight to bed. And you're like, who is that? Like, I've always been like, who the hell is that person? And then there's other people, this 10.5 hour half life means 3 days later, caffeine's still in your system and you're still dealing with it. And so, most certainly, like, even if you have it like, 10 a.m. at lunchtime, like, it will impair your sleep. And how many of us are slow metabolizers? About 60%.
Really?
It's a huge number. And even the fast metabolizers will say, I can drink as much as I want, and I basically get no effect. But what we find is that when we skip that step of one, skipping caffeine, which has all these side effects and has the metabolism issues, side effects being like the arrhythmias and anxiety and sleep disruption and brain fog and all the things that people talk about with caffeine. Then, if you skip also these other two metabolites, theophylline is a controlled substance, a bronchodilator, like a potent drug that really affects the sympathetic nervous system quite substantially. And then theobromine, that's the thing in chocolate that's like can potentially kill cats and dogs. So here's where it gets really fascinating. I knew that there may be a better way, and paraxanthine could be a little bit better. But when you clean out all these other things, when you get rid of caffeine, theobromine, theophylline, and their metabolites, you get this incredibly clean experience. And we're starting to find out maybe the reason is there is three methyl groups on caffeine. And in this next row, they get demethylated in the body as metabolites so that the theobromine, theophylline, and paraxanthine have one of the three methyl groups removed. And depending on which one, it makes one, each chemical. With paraxanthine, it's the three methyl group that gets removed. And we think that that may be toxic in the body, meaning that theophylline, theobromine, caffeine, and some of their metabolites may have this unique toxicity. Is it going to kill you? No. Maybe in certain doses, it's a hormetic stress. Maybe for fast metabolizers, it's no big deal. We see this play out in research with athletes where it's very mixed data. And for the last 30 years, we've been trying to figure out, like, why is it such mixed data? Like, this study will show, like, they had incredible results. This study shows they had no results. This study shows they had negative results. Now we're starting to figure out by looking at the CYP1A2 gene, the cytochrome P450 pathway, like, now we can understand, okay, this is why people that are fast metabolizers can have ergogenic, meaning athletic enhancing benefit from caffeine, and these other people that are on the other end of the spectrum have negative effect on their brain and athletic performance. So now that we can delineate that, like we're starting to understand that a lot better. But in essence, net here, the best path forward would just be skipping all that and going straight to paraxanthine.
With the gene that regulates how people metabolize caffeine, if someone is a slow metabolizer of caffeine, will that be true of other molecules that they ingest, like psychoactive substances and so on?
It's very possible that there's kind of like a more holistic impact on this cytochrome P450. It's the liver metabolism pathway that could happen. You can do genetic testing to find out where you're at, but there's definitely epigenetic expression. I know my body because I've taken, 100 pills at a time and all these things, thinking, oh, it's supplements. And, but at the same time, these are all compounds your liver has to deal with. And I know at certain points in my life, I feel like my epigenetic expression has changed to like reduce the impact of these ingredients that I was taking because I was taking so many. My liver had to deal with so much, if that makes sense. Like it was kind of dampening the acute effect of these things. So I've very much changed the way I supplement. I supplement more intuitively. I look at more kind of microdosing levels or, kind of minimum doses versus what's called like orthomolecular, where it's kind of like, let me take, 10 grams of, whatever it is. And that was kind of the biohacker's way of like, what's the maximum dose? Let me triple that. So
I'm listening right now. Like
yeah.
pulling my covers here.